Hey guys, it's your boy Chips Ahoy. Today I'll be doing a Kazuha guide. As you read from the title, you'd want to make a support into a DPS, and it seems you've come to the right place. Now this guide will only be focusing on crit Kazuha and drifting away towards EM. I did do a test between the two, and crit Kazuha is significantly better than EM DPS Kazuha. Although, if you want to use EM DPS Kazuha, I ain't your mom, go ahead and do so. I've been maining Kazuha since release and played him crit DPS, so I know a thing or two. This video will have timestamps, so skip to whichever section you like. Anyways, let's begin with the weapon selections. Now for the 5 stars, it's basically pretty simple. All you do need is any crit weapon like the Mist Splitter, Lo-Fi, Haran, Splendor, Tranquil Waters. Of course, they're not in order, they're all good, but in my opinion, or in my list, which is better, would be Mist Splitter or Lo-Fi, the Haran, Splendor, and Jade Cutter. Of course, in my opinion, Mist Splitter and Lo-Fi are good. Mist Splitter is a pretty good 5-star sword for a C0 Kazuha, if you ignore this part, where you get stacks from doing elemental normal attack damage. C6 Kazuha does have elemental infusion, but you gain a stack if you casted an elemental burst, which lasts for 5 seconds, or your energy is below 100 and the stack lasts till you have your burst off. Essentially, you get to do your burst and gain an instant 16% damage bonus. Plus, after that, you get an 8 damage bonus if you don't have your burst yet. I also forgot to mention that Mist Splitter does start off with a 12% elemental damage bonus to the current wielder. So as you can see here, I have Mist Splitter with 73 elemental mastery. If I switch off, then it returns back to normal. Now Lo-Fi is pretty high up on the list for the long-term investment for C6. It's not as great at C0, but it's still a crit stick. Kazuha C6 not only infuses his sword with Animo, but will also increase his NA damage by 0.2% of his EM. Now Lo-Fi's passive is every time a normal attack does elemental damage, you get the foliar effect, which increases 120% of EM. Currently, my Kazuha has 199 EM, which means if I activated the effect, I would get 238% normal attack damage bonus. How do I know that? I did math. Stay in school, kids. Since Kazuha's Ascension increases his EM, I would say this is a very good weapon for C6 Kazuha. Second up is the Haran Gippaku Futsu. I'm just gonna call it Haran because I'm not saying that every time I talk about it. It's pretty good since you immediately obtain 12% elemental damage increase, and its passive is also good for C6 Kazuha. When other members of your party use their skill, it gains a stack, max 2 stacks. Each stack consumed after using the wielder's skill would increase by 20% per stack, so you can get 40% normal attack damage from it. Splendor is also a very good weapon since, again, like Lo-Fi, is a stack stick. Unless you have Furihina, it's not that great of a weapon, but you can still use it if it's your only crit weapon you have. Jade Cutter is also pretty good as it has a high crit stack, but it's not as great from its passive since it only increases HP. I wouldn't really recommend it, but like Splendor, you could use it if it's the only 5-star weapon you have. Now for 4 stars, same goes for 5 stars. Try to get any crit weapon like Blackcliff Sword or Black Sword. Of course, you could use Anemonia or Ishin Blade. These 4 stars are pretty good, but I would value the crit weapons more. Or if you're better than everyone else and like aesthetics more, do the Ishin Blade because goddamn bro, like it's so nice. Now, since I talked about the weapons, I'll be talking about the artifacts. For artifacts, it's actually pretty simple. There aren't any Animo DPS artifacts except for one, but I'll get to that. So artifacts I would recommend are usually just 2-piece pieces. 2-piece attack pieces could be Gladiator, Shimenawa, Echoes. There's a lot of 2-piece attack pieces. As for Animo damage pieces, Desert Pavilion and VV. Of course, you can always mix and match like 2-piece attack and 2-piece attack, 2-piece Verdescent and 2-piece Pavilion. It's totally up to you, but me personally, I've been using 2-piece attack and 2-piece Animo damage bonus ever since I mained him. Although for C6, it's a different story because I would highly recommend 4-piece Pavilion just because of the 4-piece set, which is when charge attack hit opponents, normal attack character speed increases, while normal charge and buzzing attack increases by 40%, which is pretty good for C6. Also, another set I would say is 4-piece Viridescent. You could use this. Honestly, I don't think I would use it for DPS Kazuha, but if you do have good sub stats on it, then I guess you can go ahead and use it. Alright, now for the sands, if you have a C0 or like not C6 Kazuha, I'd highly recommend attack percent. But if you do have C6, you could either pick EM or attack. Honestly, I'd still do attack if I do have C6, just because EM does just help with your normal attack, and I just want like overall DPS advantage or something, so that's why I choose attack. For goblet, you can choose animal damage or you can do EM like I said, but if you're doing EM on your goblet, I think you should do attack on your sands. Vice versa, if you're doing EM on your sands, you should do like an animal damage bonus on your goblet. And for circlet, you can do like a crit circlet, whatever, whichever you need. Now for Constellation, there aren't any DPS focused constellations except for C6. Obviously he is a support, so I highly doubt he's gonna get any DPS increase for his constellation. Although if you are trying to main DPS him, I'd say C1 and C3 are pretty good because, you know, they can like increase your skill. C5 is also good, but if you're gonna go for C5, might as well go for C6. Now, I'm gonna go talk about teams. There aren't really that much teams for Kazuha, mostly because you could just replace the annual DPSs you have on your team with Kazuha. So usually for my team that I normally run, I'd run Bennett, Farazan, and Zhongli. You can make like a knockoff Xiao with this team comp. Of course, you can replace Farina with Zhongli or Bennett or any. It's honestly like very simple. Team comps aren't really like that much of a problem, so you guys can like mix and max, but me personally, I'd run as my normal team because this is the team I usually use every day if I'm running Kazuha. Of course, you can do like a nuke team, which is this, or you can add like Farina into this. It's definitely up to you, just as long as you have Farina, because Farina is animal who buffs animals, so she's definitely a must need, especially at C6. Now this covers everything you need to know about DPS Kazuha, how to build DPS Kazuha, and so on and so forth. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next